Welcome. If you're just now joining us, my name is Terri Maxwell, and this is one of my favorite events because my heart is in this idea of meaningful money. How do you align your purpose in a way that is also profitable? How I came to that realization is I was a classroom teacher. That's what my degree is in. I spent 3 years teaching middle school and then left the classroom to become an executive. Found I had this natural gift for business I didn't know I had. Then a couple of years after that, I think it was 6 years after that, I joined a startup and we took that company public. And then after that, that took about 10 years off my life. I became an entrepreneurial CEO. And then in 2009, I sold that business and became a conscious entrepreneur. My purpose is to inspire potential, and in particular, your potential as a conscious entrepreneur. I started a portfolio of businesses and I'm very, very excited about all of them, but I'm most excited about ShiftCo because a lot of the clients that I had in these other businesses are the ones that really prompted and encouraged me to start what is now ShiftCo. So we're going to cover a couple of things, and I've got 3 experts that I've brought together. These are leaders in our organization, mentors and coaches that are going to share their wisdom with you. I want to start first with what is meaningful money and the epiphany that we can have around that. And then we'll talk about building something that matters, the 3 P's of conscious entrepreneurship, how to make a meaningful impact, how to really step into the power of conscious entrepreneurship, and then combine purpose and profits as we learn to grow authentically. So my journey, as I mentioned, was this idea of meaning and money. I had already learned how to make in business, both as an executive and as an entrepreneur. And you've probably seen this graphic before. I know when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I want that. And I knew how to do the you're paid for it and the world needs it. But I had this like separation of church and state between that and what I loved and what I was purposeful, what I found purposeful. And at the heart of this is really what is purposeful to us. And around the time that I saw that graphic, I read a book, Delivering Happiness. Unfortunately, we lost this gem of an entrepreneur a couple of years ago. But his book, if I boiled it down, is really the time and happiness, and where are you putting your time and how happy does that make you? And most of us have spent time where we're chasing pleasure. He calls that rock star happiness. And if you know anything about Tony, that ultimately was part of what led him back down the wrong path. And then there's passion, and passion is really about flow and engagement. You love what you're doing, but purpose is this something bigger piece. And as I was reading his book and really understanding what he had built in Zappos, his idea in Zappos is that you could create something that gave you all 3 if you put purpose first. And I realized that my life was about chasing success and passion, and that someday I would create something that made a difference. And what I learned from hearing Tony speak at a conscious capitalism event is that you really want to put purpose first, then passion, and then pleasure. And when I began to turn that around, my first concept was born, and that was succeed on purpose. And my idea was that if I followed my purpose, that I could have success through purpose. That was the idea. And that's where this idea of meaningful money came from. So my first concept that I started 2008, 2009 was this idea of that I could do meaningful work and have financial success. Now, part of us struggle as conscious entrepreneurs with this and we want to put an or there. So what we end up doing is doing lots of meaningful work, but then we're not really making the money that we need. And then we start wondering, well, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Or some of us focus on the financial success piece, but it's not meaningful. What I learned from Tony and what I learned in creating my own businesses, it's really about both. And with that, I want to bring up somebody that is living that. She's one of our mentors. And when I watch Kim talk about the true branding process and what she does with her clients, her eyes light up. And it's like this this superhero kind of jumps off the screen, and this branding superstar just steps forward. So Kim, welcome to this event. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you do at Inspired Outcomes, and a little bit about true branding, and then also your journey.
Great. Thank you so much, Terri. You're right. I'm so excited to be here today and talk about my favorite topics. So I really want to tell you a little bit on my path, because I know a lot of people are facing this today. So I spent 30 years in the corporate world. I had 12 people reporting to me, traveled around the world, was all into my career. And I encountered a bad boss. And that's happened to many of us, right? And then, through nothing that you did, your career falls apart. Well, what do you do, right? So what I did is I went back and I learned about creativity. I got a second master's in creative problem solving, and it changed my whole way of working, my whole life. And I discovered that this could be a business. So I want to tell you a little bit today about this path that I've been on, that I developed my own process. I combined what I've been doing for 30 years, which is branding and marketing, with creative problem solving and this field of appreciative inquiry. And a lot of people don't know about it, but it's been around since the 80s, and it's about starting with your strengths and successes and not looking at the world as a problem, but an opportunity. Well, even in the corporate world, I said, oh my God, this works so well. It's so fast. So I developed this model, and I just made the decision. I said, I'm going to leave. I was at Zion National Park. I was looking out on the view with a yoga guru. And I said, what am I waiting for, right? What's going to be different next year? What's going to be different in 2 years? I'm just going to pick a date and do it. So October 1st is 2 years for me. I started Inspired Outcomes, and I had a big why. I really felt we could all be more collaborative, creative, and positive at work. I saw so much in the corporate world that could be better, right? Just by adding that in. I also really believe helping small businesses helps the world. It's so much good work is being done. And as a mentor at ShiftCo, I see that every single day. I also believe this is time to change old models, that there's new ways of working, like true branding and conscious marketing. And we have the Conscious Marketing Collective at ShiftCo that we're kind of leading the way. Let's do things differently. Let's not do the old way of forcing people to buy things they don't need, and instead show a new way. And I also wanted to replace the old agency model with this idea we could really collaborate, that people who do marketing work could be collaborative colleagues, each with their own business and each caring about the outcome. So this is why I started. And I want to share with you on the next slide, ShiftCo has been a tremendous support for me to take my business to the next level. And again, 2 years in, I want to show my gratitude, because I had a great process. I had 30 years of knowledge, but there were so many things I had to learn to make my business stronger. And one of the main areas that ShiftCo helped me was picking my target market. So I knew I needed to work directly with business owners. I knew that I would, I work with people who are starting something new or want to refresh their brand. But it was the center of the target that I learned through my work at ShiftCo and the market research they encouraged me to do. What really works is when I work with people who value excellence, because they're not going to do the work they need to do for an outstanding brand without that background. So it really helped me. And now that I know my customer, I completely looked at my offering differently. Instead of selling my process, which works, but it wasn't tying into the needs of customers. So the work I did, I now have 3 offerings. The first one is called Your Vision Branded. And I holistically look at the vision of the business owner in terms of who their business is, what they offer, and how they do it. And I put that in terms that their ideal customer gets. The end result is customers who are loyal, and as Terri loves, I love this term, become your friends and fanatics, right? So that vision branded was the first offering. The second, I said, there's tons of people out there who've been in business a long time and they need a refresh. You know, it's a different world. They need to be online, they need to be digital. So I created an offering that again uses my process, but meets the needs of someone who's ready to refresh their business. And then the third piece, your brand elevated, combines that wonderful visual creative that everybody needs to tell their story better. And the work I did with ShiftGo, I'm so proud to say 2 years in, I have 60 customers who've gone through my process. I formed 15 partnerships with other marketing folks. I partner all the time and I love it, right? It makes us all stronger to work together. And now my clients are in over 6 different countries. So this success, I need to extend my gratitude, and I hope I can help those that I mentor to also achieve this kind of success through the tools that ShiftGo provides all of us. So thank you so much, Terri.
Yeah, Kim, thank you. And I have a couple of questions for you. One is this idea of the Conscious Marketing Collective. I'll never forget when we were first coming up with the concept for ShiftGo, and I talked about having these collectives, a leadership collective, a healing collective, a marketing collective. And that the idea would be that competitors would come together, even though there was overlap in their services, they would find a way to collaborate. And you, as a leader of the Conscious Marketing Collective, have been instrumental in helping that occur. So what does it look like when you say, rather than compete, we're going to collaborate? Talk a little bit about that. And then I have a second question for you about being a mentor.
Sure. So I really feel that the world of marketing is so big and there's so much expertise that we each have a different piece of it, right? And we recognize that. None of us, because we're conscious entrepreneurs, want to say we do something that we can't do well. So we know that together we're stronger than as individuals. We've also, by collaborating, learned that how other people do things is different, and it might be better, right? So even learning how people's process and how they work with customers has made us all stronger. So in the time we've been together, there's no friction, there's no issue with any kind of competitive model. It's all about how can we serve the customer. And even when there's a new customer, we'll say, who would like to work on this? Who thinks it's a fit for them? Because many of the people in ShiftGo work at other levels. It isn't just about standard, this is what I do. It's about, this is what lights me up. This is what gets me excited. This is my expertise. So it's really a sharing experience. It's been wonderful for me.
And as work comes in, both from inside ShiftGo as well as members referring others that are not in ShiftGo, how does that work when a member refers somebody to the Conscious Marketing Collective and that person is not in ShiftGo? How do you guys divide it up? Like, who gets the project? What's the process that you use there?
Well, we all have come to know each other well, and we took the time to really understand the expertise and the things we love to do. And I think I've learned a lot of that from ShiftGo as well. Really, what kinds of work do we love and are best at? And it frees us up from not having to do those other things that somebody else is the best at. So that has worked beautifully. And we just decide based on, we do an intake process, what kind of work is needed, who would like to do that work, and that's how we proceed. And it's been working beautifully.
Yeah, and I think the key is that you've established those ground rules. We took time to get to know each other. We put those boundaries in place. We work to honor those boundaries, but it is possible. And then my last question is, when a member gets partnered with a mentor, every member in addition to getting the training that they receive, they get a mentor, and they're usually working with 2 coaches at one time. The mentor member relationship what's that based on, and how does that work?
So as a mentor, we often call it that we're kind of like a guidance counselor. Our job is to know everything going on in ShiftCo and help point members in the right direction. So we stay with the member over time, even though their coach may change as they work on different aspects of their business. We try to be that consistent presence and really begin to understand what kinds of things they're interested in and what they need at that moment to grow. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to really learn everything about ShiftCo and how to best diagnose what the problem is that a member is having and how we can best serve them.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the diagnosing what's the one thing you need to focus on is really the key. Well, I want to thank you for your leadership on the CMC, the Conscious Marketing Collective, and also as a mentor. And we really value everything that you've brought to ShiftCo as well. And I want to segue off of some things that Kim talked about, and that is, what are you passionate about? Too often, as an entrepreneur, we have to pay the bills. And too often we end up taking projects, taking work, taking clients, taking on product production that doesn't really fit who we really are. And what I found is that there's 3 P's of making a meaningful impact. One is what I call persona. I'm going to talk about the 3 personas. The other is passion. And if you can find to do more clients that value your persona and value your passion, and not take on the things that don't fit your natural abilities, that don't fit the passion, but rather get there through collaboration, you'll be a lot happier. And then the 3rd P is, of course, what I'm super passionate about, which is purpose. I really believe conscious entrepreneurs, the business chooses us, almost like I believe children choose their parent. I think conscious businesses are so deeply personal. They come from this place that we can't quite explain. And it's this different level of energy that I didn't have as a serial entrepreneur. I didn't have it when I wasn't following the path of purpose. And I like to say that passion is what I love, but purpose is why I love it. When I am inspiring potential, which is the 2 words to my purpose statement, it doesn't matter whether I'm doing that with a child, an adult, a large business, or a small business. When I am inspiring potential, I am incredibly, incredibly happy. But one of the ones that we don't talk about enough is persona. And there are 3 personas. I won't tell you the story of where I came up with this research, but what I will say is I had invested a lot of money when I first started our portfolio of companies in conscious businesses. And I was finding that people either quit too quickly, or they got to, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. And they were like, okay, I'm making enough money and, I'm good. And I couldn't understand that. And I couldn't understand why people didn't see the world the way I did. It's like, there's all these other benefits if you scale your business. So I started analyzing, we had invested in 14 concepts at the time. And I started analyzing all of these different entrepreneurs and looking at these characteristics. And some people, they're what I call a doer, and they really, it's the doing of the work that really motivates them. And they like the familiarity. They make great freelancers, but they really like that consistency. Most entrepreneurs are solvers, and solvers are certainly, they have doer attributes, but solvers they are motivated by the solving of the problem. That's what feeds their soul. That's also why they don't like corporate America, because they don't have a lot of freedom in corporate America. And then there's builders, and builders are motivated by building programs and creating value. I'm a builder, obviously, and the joy for me is the building. But when somebody is motivated by the solving, their business looks very different. And as a result of that, They don't want the high growth, multiple things going on necessarily. Work-life balance is important to them. The focus on solving clients' problems before they've moved on to the next thing is important to them. And I want to bring up another one of our mentors, and he frequently tells the story about growth versus impact and why impact is so important. And to solvers, impact is everything. So Ray, welcome to the program today. And I know you've got an amazing story about how you got to starting Business Energizers, which I'll save for you to tell, but I'm going to let you take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, I wanted to start a little bit with my background. So I used to be a civil engineer. I designed and built water resource projects in Arizona, Central Arizona project. I don't know if you ever heard of that. But anyway, that's kind of where I started. My schooling was in that trajectory, and all my skills were about solving problems as an engineer and how to create a vision with a team. And that's really what I loved about that whole career in civil engineering. And I actually took some human potential classes as I was an engineer. I was working in a consulting company, and we had a wonderful CEO who really understood people, and he understood how important it was to develop a strong team. And so he sent us all to a course that was called Increasing Human Effectiveness. It was all about goal setting. It was all about positive attitude and how do you bring that into your life and how do you bring that into your teams. And I said, this is amazing. And so after taking that course, I set a goal to become a project manager. And within 6 months, I became a project manager. So the goal setting worked, which was incredible. And so I said, I want more of this. And so I wanted to become a better leader, and I decided to take a Dale Carnegie course to help to achieve that. And it was a 14-week course, and they had us working on applying principles from a couple books. One was How to Win Friends and Influence People, and the other was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And as I was applying these principles, I realized how terrible I was at communication and relationships. And so I started strengthening that. And throughout the 14 weeks, the other part that really lit me up was watching these people that couldn't even speak in front of a group at the beginning of the class starting to shine. They were even dressing different, and they were starting to pull goals off the shelf and moving towards those in their life. And I said, at the end of that class, I said, I want more of this. And so I actually went through the trajectory in Dale Carnegie to become an instructor. And I did that for 8 years. And as I was doing that, I was also an engineer during the day. And so I said, I want to make the shift completely. And so I started taking graduate courses and learning and instruction, and then started moving down the path of changing my career. And I ended up in a utility company in their human resource department as a corporate trainer. And more than that, I developed myself into what I'll call as a corporate training consultant, working with each of the departments and helping them to develop their own training for their own teams. And I'm going to go ahead and shift to the next slide. And so all that while it was happening, I've got in the back of my mind, I want to create a company. And a company to do this full time and get out of engineering. I've developed great tools about team building and that, but now I want to start a business. And so while I was an engineer, while I was instructing Dale Carnegie, I was also starting to develop what it was that I wanted to create. And I actually started inside myself and looked at my own personal purpose. So like Terry talked about, how important that is when you can discover that and then start moving towards that and developing a business and somehow make the connection, dovetail them together. And so as I was discovering more of my purpose and looking at my talents, skills, and abilities, I started to craft what it is I wanted to do with companies. And I started developing classes at a church I was in, leadership classes. I became a board member for the board of directors, and we wanted to go through the strategic planning process. So I went to a weekend retreat to learn the skills of strategic planning, and I loved that and took our board through that. And so I'm accumulating all these tools. And, you know, the thing I wanted to do was really make an impact. Yeah, I needed to grow a business so that it would make money. And I eventually left my engineering job, left that human potential job in a human resource department, and started my own business. And it was in that path that I really discovered how to serve the clients and who were those clients that I wanted to take on. And go to the next slide. And so the thing I learned as I was doing all this soul searching was it needed to be fun. It needed to be something that I enjoyed doing. It needed to be aligned with my passions. And so as I was learning the different things about team building and about strategic planning, I was gathering this array of skills that I was going to take to clients. Next. And so it was always with the question in the back of my mind, how can I make a meaningful, positive difference in a leader's life, in the people in their company? And it was all that was at the center of what I was looking to bring. Next. And so the products and services that I landed upon was guiding people through strategic planning. And the interesting thing was that also materialized what it was that they would like for leadership training in their organization. It also led to coaching, to coach each of the leaders, to live the principles and the values that we might be creating for their organization, and sometimes coming in to speak and give an energizer of some sort. And so all those things were starting to come together and coalesce. Next. And pricing was interesting because I did know a little bit of what was happening in the market, but I decided, you know, I'm not going to be the cheapest. I don't want to be the cheapest. And so I developed a pricing that just felt right to me, and clients are willing to pay for the pricing if they're getting quality services. So I said, okay, just keep going forth with that. And it keeps evolving. Next. And the thing that has always been with me through my whole life, because I've always had businesses, even as a child. I'd shovel snow in the winter in upstate New York. I would run errands for people. I would even paint garages and houses and that type of thing. And so I always had that. And I was always looking to under-promise and over-deliver in everything that I did, to just kind of have that wow moment for people. And so I decided that is the fabric on everything that I do with the client. Next. And it was an interesting thing that happened. And so freedom has always been a very important part for my business. So I got myself free of corporate America. I wanted the freedom to be able to deliver the training to whoever I wanted to deliver it to. And so I picked and choose my clients accordingly. And then another thing happened. So in 2001, the 9/11 events that happened in New York and in Washington, D.C., that really touched me at a deep level. And as that all was unfolding, and as I watched people serving each other in amazing ways in the aftermath of that, and then I started to see the energy shift, I got this idea. I call it a harebrained idea, even though there's no hair. And I got this idea to go across the country to share a message of hope and healing and honor the firefighters and other public servants as I rolled across the country. It was also a childhood dream that I wanted to bicycle across the country someday. And so I brought those two things together. And my wife joined me. She was in the support vehicle. She said she did the hard part. She drove the truck, but she also set up all the logistics. And so I bicycled that 3,369 miles in 70 days. And it's interesting because people asked after the journey, you know, did you get tired of it? And the interesting thing was when we got to New York for the year-end remembrance ceremonies, Lynn and I, my wife, looked at each other and said, you know, we feel like we should keep going. And that's when we had this idea to become full-time RVers. And we actually chose to do that in 2007. And that's what we've been doing full-time. We had a custom-built RV. You can see it there in the picture. We had it built so it could be our rolling office, as well as a comfortable home that we can take anywhere Spirit moved us. And we're still doing that today. So I'm actually on this call with you from New Mexico, and in a week and a half, we're going to be going to Arizona. And we just love that freedom. And that's what we wanted our business to be able to support. Next. And so with that, prior to COVID beginning last year, I mean, our business was thriving. Before going on the bicycle, or actually choosing to do the RV, before we did that, I had a 6-figure business, and we had it until there was some recessions that occurred in 2006 through, God, it was about 10 years. And so there were ups and downs, but then it started really ramping up, and we were at the $10,000 a month that we needed to be to support our dream of full-time RVing. And then we had COVID hit, and it dipped again. And that's where I heard of ShiftCo. And so I said, you know, it's time to re-energize my business. It's time to move a lot of what I do in person up to the World Wide Web. And that's what I've been doing with ShiftCo since I joined in February this past year. This was one of the things that ShiftCo coaches helped me to develop, is how to differentiate myself from the other people that do what I do. And we came up with this value statement. I just want to read it to you. So the value we provide is a balanced, well-engineering, heartfelt approach to help you strengthen your core, which means to clarify focus, organize and prioritize commitments, act with conviction so that you can realize success and fulfillment. That nailed what it is that is at the heart of everything that I want to do in my company, Business Energizers. Next. And the other piece that was part of differentiating was, you know, what do I call what it is that I do? What are the packages that I provide? And that's where we came up with productivity sessions. That's my meeting facilitation. It helps teams become more productive. It helps leaders to become more productive as they're guiding their own people. Destiny Reimagined, that's just strategic planning. That's really looking through the values, the purpose, the vision, and then setting goals in alignment with it. Leadership Enrichment is the training and coaching that I love to do. And ShiftCo has been a great vehicle for that too, because I'm now a master teacher and have a couple courses online, and I'm developing other ones. And then dynamic presentations, which is kind of integrated in all. I just love speaking to groups. And next slide. And so now kind of the next steps here is moving, like I said, everything online. Most everything was in person before at the beginning of 2020. And now I've been gradually getting more proficient at all the tools of online webinars and that type of thing. Developing the trainings. I can go up on the World Wide Web. And so it's been wonderful working with the coaches to get that to happen. And then working with Michelle, who you're going to hear in a little bit, has really helped me to accelerate what it is that I'm doing in social media so that I can attract the clients that I'm looking to and support my lifestyle so we can keep RVing. So that has been amazing. And I'm also looking forward, I'm in the process of becoming a mentor for ShiftCo. And for me, I always love sharing the gifts that I'm learning. I'm always loving collaborating. Like Kim shared, I actually have some collaborations that have helped us market on the road. And I'm always looking to expand that and serve people in that way. So that's my story. And that's kind of the intersection with ShiftCo.
Thank you so much, Ray. And I'm so grateful that not only are you a master teacher, but you're also going to be joining the mentor team. A couple of questions for you. You know, you already had a successful business similar to Kim. So it wasn't like you were starting at the beginning. you did a great job of articulating where the coaches really helped you refine your business. But I want to talk a little bit about the business model of expanding training programs online, because one of the other things that we've worked on that ShiftCo almost allowed you to experiment with, or not allowed, but created the space to experiment, is you wanted to create, passive streams of income with your courses so that you didn't have to deliver them all the time. How has that worked to not just work on your business, but to think through the business model?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I said, there's a couple of courses that are on the core of ShiftCo right now. And so I saw ShiftCo as a great vehicle for, in essence, a kick in the butt for me to get those courses that I already had recordings of, I already had the slideshows of, and now to actually produce them and get them on different platforms. And so the first was, let's get them on ShiftCo so that it can serve our community, our members. But then the other piece of it, and been working with you, Terri, to do this, is to bring it up on a public marketplace. Because, for me, I like building the courses, but I don't necessarily like to build the system like ShiftCo has done for the different courses. And so I'm looking at putting them in a public marketplace and then marketing them with my demand generation and kind of all that energy feeding each other, and then developing, like you said, the passive income stream so that I don't always have to be present for a training or a facilitation, but in essence, that can be earning income as we're rolling.
Excellent. That's a great way to look at that. And then you're just now entering the mentor program, and will be mentoring programs, whereas Kim has been doing it all of this year. So as a new mentor and having had mentors in ShiftCo, what is it that you feel like you're really bringing to that role, and what's causing you to be excited about that role?
What I love is, so I do leadership coaching as part of the services I provide. And I love, there's just something when I can feel where a person is at and, what their talents are, what their passions are. And when I can connect that with actions that they can now start to see results happening in their life and happening in their business, that's what really lights me up. And so I'm excited to be a mentor and to work with different people and to watch them shine. It's kind of like what I got when I was a Dale Carnegie instructor and a class member, to watch people transform over the period of time. So that's what I'm excited about, is that transformation.
Love that. Love that. And I think that's a really good segue to one of the last points I want to make before we have Michelle speak. The idea of being a conscious entrepreneur, you do business differently, and you've heard this thread, and you'll meet this in all of the ShiftCo members. We started ShiftCo, launched it in July of 2020, and I think we'll have 300, somewhere between 300 and 350 members by the end of this year. And there's a difference. And as an entrepreneur, when they look at their product, they're like, will somebody buy it? A conscious entrepreneur says, will it solve a problem? And both of both Kim and Ray that you heard talk about, they talked about the problem that their product solved. They talked about the passion that they had for solving the problem. And if you're a conscious entrepreneur, most of the business training that's out there is for traditional entrepreneurs. Will someone buy it? How do you price it? That type of stuff. How do you sell it? How do you get someone to buy? That's not who we are. And it's not the type of training and mentoring and coaching that you'll receive. So we conscious entrepreneurs are focused on value. And when it comes to their product or service, it's really on solving a problem. When it comes to pricing, an entrepreneur is like, what will someone pay? Called market-based pricing. What will someone pay? Conscious entrepreneurs, how much is it worth? And typically with conscious entrepreneurs, we have to show you how to raise your price. Whereas, traditional entrepreneurs, which I used to be one, and I built a company and I had a set price and I knew how much money I was going to make with every sale and all that type of stuff. When I really stepped into the world of conscious entrepreneurship, which I didn't exactly know was happening, I literally went through this metamorphosis where I began to look at everything different. So conscious entrepreneurs, they price based on the value, the worth of it. And like I said, most people, when we're working on youth pricing, we're showing you the value that you're not even thinking about in your product so that you can price it accordingly. And then lastly is success. And you heard that both with Ray and Kim, is the conscious entrepreneurs are about making a difference. The money comes from making a difference versus just how much money can I make. And that, if that resonates with you, then you probably are a conscious entrepreneur and you probably would really love being part of ShiftCo. And I want to just share one other thing, and then I'm going to have our last speaker come up, and she's kind of igniting confidence is her purpose, and she will definitely light you up. But the idea behind ShiftCo is based on something called the Conscious Business Growth Platform. And each of these colored circles that you see on the right represent a business phase. But how you go from one phase to the next is not the way that you think it is. What happens is your business will grow as you evolve. And that's about being open to different ways. It's about being open to what you don't know as well as what you do know. And I really, when I first became an entrepreneur, I really struggled because the old ways that I had used of growing my business as a business growth expert, I had to rethink all of those. And when we created ShiftCo on the Conscious Business Growth Platform, which all of my companies are based on, what I take the most pride in is A, the collaboration of our members, but B, that it's focused on your evolution as a leader. And we, in addition to bringing great business training, we bring you great training on how to be a better conscious leader. And so with that, I want to bring up our last speaker. She is one of our coaches as well. So you've heard from two of our mentors, and Michelle is the coach on demand generation, which is about getting more revenue. The first time I met Michelle, I was like, I got to work with this girl. And she's not only one of our coaches, but she's also on our leadership team. So Michelle, take it away. Tell us, how do you step into your power and elevate your game?
Well, thank you, Terry, and thank you, Kim and Ray. This is absolutely phenomenal. Every time I get to participate in anything with other shifters, is what we fondly call each other, I am elevated through the experience. So you're listening, know that stepping into your power and elevating your game, that it's a combination of balancing purpose and profits. And as Terry has shown you, and as you've heard, the traditional way of doing business for a conscious entrepreneur doesn't work. It's this process of doing things, yet and still questioning, why am I doing it? So there's always this underpinning and this overhanging, the reasons don't tie to the results. There's all this work, yet the reasons are still kind of a question mark within inside oneself. So the fulfillment of the processes and the actual activities is always left wanting. And so what we do together here, and what you'll learn as a conscious entrepreneur, elevating your purpose to align with your profits and balancing those, because they're never going to be equal and the same, but creating a balance in them and always revisiting your why, where it aligns with your activities, is how you start to create this cadence that's unique to you. How you start to be able to traverse and go through the activities and the opportunities and the challenges and stay the course, because it is coming uniquely from you, and you've built this confidence and this trust in your choices. I didn't know if we had another slide or a point, so I kind of stopped there, but just knowing where to focus is another thing that we find within that is challenging. And focus is an acronym, follow one course until successful, that people often hear. And it challenges you to, well, what is that course, right? So often when you go into business, when as a conscious entrepreneur, you're following this prompting inside of yourself. This is one thing that you believe that you can do, or you can change, or you can create, or you can transform. And then you go out, but you don't know what you're doing. So all of a sudden, everyone outside of you becomes smarter than you, right? Because they've been doing it for years. They're on stage. You go to a networking event, you attend this course, someone's saying what you ought to do, what you need to do, what you have to do. So your voice gets lost, right? So knowing that knowingness of where to focus and how to follow and how to take that next step is something that is absolutely must be cultivated with inside yourself, because you're creating something unique. There'll never be another you, and there's no one like you. So whatever that prompting was for you to start, I don't care if there's a bunch of other people branding, if there's a bunch of other people doing strategy, if there's a bunch of other people teaching sales, it is never going to come and sound the way you do it. And that's so vitally important in how you do business. And it's so fun to see that evolution of people to really own their space and their voice in what they're creating and how they're cultivating business. And it creates such a magnetic attraction to them and how they do, because you show up and you share who you are and what you do. And you'll be amazed at how many people will start private messaging you, DMing you, actually unmuting and going, I have to talk to you. I need to connect with you, because that ability to be yourself and be true to yourself is what most of the world is looking for, right? They see copies, and then using your time effectively. Again, when you're following your path, your purpose, when you're focused, all the other stuff starts to fall off. Your choices become simpler. That overwhelm, it starts to shed and dissipate because you're clear. That clarity is everything, and it only comes when you trust yourself. And it's just such a powerful process of aligning with why you started and building upon your why and your uniqueness that creates such a powerful business and changes the world and those people that you get to do business with.
I love that, Michelle. And I have a question for you. As our shift coach and our demand generation expert, you coach members how to grow their business on social media, how to grow, if they're speaking, how to grow with networking. So talk a little bit about the type of coaching that you do with ShiftCo members on the platform, and how you help them step into their power and what they enjoy doing, rather than, you got to do marketing this way type of thing.
Yeah, well, yes. And I absolutely enjoy doing the work with people. And it's finding that sweet spot of picking activities that generate demand. So again, Kim mentioned that finding and identifying our ideal client. So there's this dream of an ideal client that many people have. And there's as the business fortune tellers tell you of the ideal client, right? So it's often the future somewhere. There's this perfect client that you love to work with. And some people may have tripped up an experience in a client engagement that was absolutely wonderful. So how do you acquire more of those? Well, it's remembering that is an expression of working with someone you love to work with. Well, the only way to find more people that you love to work with is to set out in doing activities that you love. So it's creating this vibration or this essence of yourself. I always tell people, imagine yourself at an event when you feel good, you look good, you're dressed nice, you have on your best outfit, your hair is done, or whatever that is, you are wonderful to be around. Well, your future clients and those prospects, they want that. That's what they're looking for. So helping people to find those activities that they do on a daily basis where they're engaging, if it's networking, if it's writing a blog, if it's commenting on a post. If you're not in the emotional state of belief, of elevation, don't do it, right? Because you have to remember, every activity we do is a seed planted. And whatever emotional state you're in, if you're doing that from a state of not feeling good, all you can create is more not good feelings. So I know that might be a strange way to say it, but it's combining what I call the woo-woo, that spiritual belief in the consciousness of who you are, the thing that you're here to create that's greater, that's aligned with your daily and your regular business practices, so they align. So that was where the purpose and the profits align. And I have so much fun with seeing people shift from, oh, I have to do social media, or I have to write a blog, or, they are in that have to that space of, oh my God, I get to do this. And I met someone, right? I met a client, I met a prospect, I connected with these amazing people, because they're in that space of being more true to who they are and the gift they are, and offering that gift is valuable when they go out and make those connections.
Yeah, bingo. So it's about knowing where your target market is and doing activities to connect and build a relationship with that target market, but choosing the activities that you enjoy.
Absolutely.
Love it. Thank you, Michelle. And I'll just wrap up with just a couple of things about ShiftCo. We pride ourselves on three things. One, your business will grow using the platform. I wake up thinking about how to help you grow your business. I go to sleep thinking about from the top down. We want you to grow your business. Our mentors and coaches will be there for you, because that's how we measure our success. It's not about how many members we have. It's how many members do we have that are growing their business. Second is you will get support from an amazing community of leaders. You just met 3 of them, 2 mentors, a coach. Ray is also a master teacher, and Kim also leads the Conscious Marketing Collective. They're really the leaders inside ShiftCo, and you're going to get support from them. Third is we have a fundamental belief that collectively we will make a bigger impact, that we don't have to do it by ourselves, that there are so many different ways that you can collaborate. They're all built into the program, but they're flexible enough that you choose the ways that you want to collaborate. If you don't like networking, don't collaborate that way. If you don't like social media, don't collaborate that way. We've got all of these different ways to help you collaborate with others that are also trying to make an impact so that you can do it together. There's a couple of things that you'll receive when you join a ShiftCo, and I'll also share the price with you, because I believe that's the best and most surprising piece. But you get a mentor such as Ray and Kim, and what they're committed to doing is helping you do what we call the MAP process, where they're going to help you pinpoint what is the one thing you need to focus on, not the 50, not the 5, but the one thing that you need to focus on. That's what they're going to hone in. What is the one thing that if you just focused on this one thing, your business would move forward? So everybody gets a mentor, and that mentor is usually a full phase ahead of you, and they're going to help you figure out what to focus on. Again, not the 50, not the 5, but the one thing. You also get incredible content, volumes and volumes of content from master teachers all over the world in business, personal, and leadership. Online that you can do whenever you want. You don't have to pay per course. The entire core, what's called the core, all of the lessons are part of your membership. In addition to that, you have a coach that you work with, at least one, usually 2 that you'll be working with, who will help you apply what you learn in the core that your mentor guided you to. They'll help you apply that to your business. And then the community. There's so many cool things that we do together as a community, and we really do work together. So you have a mentor that works with you. Every member has a mentor. Every member has full access to the core. Every member has a pathway coach, and then every member has a phase coach. And so you're always working with somebody who's helping you navigate the whole phase that you're in, and you're always working with a coach to help you apply what you're learning to your specific business. And I'll wrap up with the price, because it's the best part. These are the business phases I talked about a minute ago. If you're in launch or shape, which means your business is $0 to $10,000 a month, or shape is $10,000 to $30,000 a month, you're going to be working on MAP A. You're only going to be taking the courses that you need. You can take others, but you're only going to be focused on the courses that you need. Everybody's not stuck learning the same thing. You pay a flat monthly price, $195 a month. You can cancel anytime you want. It's very affordable. It includes everything. You don't have to pay a price for this, a price for that. It's really, really simple. If you're in build and evolve, which means your business is somewhere almost to $1 million, you're trying to get it to $1 million or 1 to 2, you'll pay $225 a month. And if you're in grow and scale, you'll pay $325 a month. And so that in essence is ShiftCo. You've heard from some of our mentors, master teachers, facilitators, and coaches. our commitment to you is we want to help you make what we call meaningful money. And that is money where your business is growing and prospering, and also where you're making a huger impact. And we believe that we are stronger together. So whoever told you about this event, they more than likely are a ShiftCo member. They more than likely can tell you everything that we just talked about is accurate. And more than likely their business is growing as well. We would love to have you join us. Just either ask how you join, or fill out the contact information and ask for more information, and someone from the team will be happy to answer those questions. And on behalf of the ShiftCo team, the mentors and the coaches, thank you so much for joining us today.